صلى الله عليك يا سيدنا يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله صلى الله عليك يا ابن رسول الله صلى الله عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين صلى الله عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء سلام الله عليها يا رحمة الله الواسعة يا باب النجاة الأمة يا غريب يا مظلوم يا شهيد كربلاء فيا ليتنا ثم يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز والله فوزا عظيما أما بعد قال أبا عبد الله في يوم عاشوراء في أرض كرب وبلاء إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. We are here on the 8th night of this most tragic month of Muharram in the land of Karbala, where this entire event took place. And around us right now, even though it's coming up to almost 2 in the morning, you find that the city of Karbala is alive with the azar of Abu Abdullah alayhi salatu wasalam. You find that the entire city, whether we look to our right or we look to our left, is swarming, flowing with people who are flooding through to partake in the azar and the remembrance of Muhammad and Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. All here for one purpose, all here with the understanding that these are the nights of Husayn ibn Ali alayhi salam, and that Husayn ibn Ali alayhi salam is someone that deserves to be mourned. All with the yaqeen and the entire appreciation of the realities of Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. Otherwise, where else would you find millions upon millions swarming to a country and where there is so much trial and tribulation, where there is so much mushkilat and difficulty, other than out of love for Husayn ibn Ali alayhi salam. And when we speak about the topic of Hubbul Hussein, Muhabbat of Aba Abdullah alayhi salam, in the entirety of history, there was no greater Muhibban of Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam than the commander of his army, his brother, his backbone, his alamdar, the bearer of his standard, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salatu wasalam, whose majestic shrine is just behind us. For you find that Abu Abdullah in Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam had the kind of support that the Prophet had in Amir al-Mu'mineen, had the kind of support that prophets would have in their wasis, the kind of support that would ensure that Husayn ibn Ali, while Abbas was alive, knew that he had an army behind him. Even if that army was just Abbas himself, he knew that he had an army behind him. What Abu Abdullah had in his entire Ahl and Ashab was unlike any other. The 18 members of his family and the 72 to 100, 110 companions that he had were unlike any others seen in history. And we spoke about this a few nights ago when we looked at the companions of Abu Abdullah alayhi salam, and we looked at the fazilah of the companions, and we spoke about the way in which we even say in our ziyarah that their soil is blessed because of their being buried there. We say, may our mothers and fathers be sacrificed for them, O companions of Abu Abdullah. We say, I wish I'd been there with you. يا ليتنا كنا معكم فنفوض والله فوضا عظيما. We wish we could have been there with you. But of course, like I say, there was none like Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salatu wasalam. Qamar Bani Hashim, the moon of the Hashemites, the backbone of the army of Abu Abdullah, the very beating heart of the essence of Husayn ibn Ali alayhi salatu wasalam. Which is why when he is shaheed, when he calls out, alaykum minni salam, ya Maula, ya Abu Abdullah, the response of Husayn ibn Ali is a response that we don't see anywhere else on the day of Ashura, in which he cries out, Nada, in Arabic they say Nada, Abu Abdullah screams out, my back has been broken by this call of yours, Ya Abu Father. Qamar Bani Hashim, Ghazi Abbas was the embodiment of his father, Amir al-Mu'mineen, in the battlefield. Debuted in Safin, and an example for all of those around him, he was the epitome of love of Muhammad and al-Muhammad. But what made Abbas Abbas? Because if we understand this particular piece, then we can learn a lot about how we can implement actions in our lives and create a plan to change the way in which we engage with our lives to ensure that we become the likes of Maula Abbas, the Imam of our time, and ensure that our children are brought up with that Abbasi spirit embedded within them. I want to, as well as this, discuss with you tonight, inshallah, the Khutbah of Maula Abbas that is narrated in some of our books that have been recited atop the Kabbah in the days just before Abu Abdullah والسلام, leaves the city of Makkah. But before we get there, as we say, what makes Abbas Abbas is that he is the qabuliyat of the dua of none other than Sayyidah Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha. When the likes of Bibi Fatima alayhi salam, who her whole life gave, who her whole life served, who her whole life was a source of karima and khidmah, raises her hands to ask for something, that's when you get Abbas alayhi salatu wasalam. That's when you get a member of Bani Hashim who was unlike any other member, of Abbas alayhi salam. You're all, I'm sure, familiar with narrations surrounding the marriage of his father, Amir al-Mu'mineen, with his mother, Bibi al-Banin alayhi salam. But when Imam Ali instructs his brother Aqil to go and find him a spouse who will give him a son, the likes of Ghazi al-Andar alayhi salam, he instructs him to do so, to look at the lineage, to look at the tribe, to look at their entire being, to understand, is this a tribe that is befitting of holding Abbas alayhi salam? And with that in mind, Hazrat Aqil would go. And when we look then at the way in which Bibi al-Banin salam comes when the marriage is qabul, when the marriage is complete and accepted, we begin to understand what makes Abbas Abbas. We begin to understand how this individual comes to be how he is. For there are two things Bibi al-Banin salam does that we see embedded in her son as well, that in particular stand out. The first is as soon as she enters this prophetic household, she asks her new husband. Remember, bear in mind, they are newly married. For those of you who are married, you know how special those early days, weeks, months, years are. She says to her new husband, Oh Ali, Ya Amir al-Mu'minin. You should never refer to him by his first name. Ya Amir al-Mu'minin, Ya Abu al-Hasan. I have a request. Amir al-Mu'minin would say, Naam, please. She would say, whenever you use my name, and her name was Fatima alayhi salam. Whenever you use my name, I see tears come to the eyes of the children of Zahra salamullahi alayha. Namely Hasan alayhi salam, Hussein alayhi salam, Zainab alayhi salam, and Kulthum alayhi salatu wassalam. Whenever you call me by that name, I see tears in their eyes. Can you give me another name so that I am not a cause of pain to the children of my leader, Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha. The second thing she does is she tells the children of Amir al-Mu'mineen salam that she is there to serve them, that she is aware that they are the children of Fatima alayhi salam and Ali alayhi salatu wassalam, that she has come into this house to be there for them, not to take over, but to be there for them and to serve them. That's how you begin to understand then how Abu Fadl al-Abbas Islam begins to be what he is. Because his mother would then teach him, don't call Abu Abdullah your brother. Don't call Maula Mujtaba salam your brother. Call them your masters. Do not allow your sisters or the ladies of this house to be treating you like a brother. Do not allow them to carry you. Do not allow them to serve you. You serve them. You serve as their khadim. For you are the son of Baneen alayhi salam, they are the sons and daughters of Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha. She would teach him that if they are sitting at the table and they are eating, wait, be a step behind Abu Abdullah in case he wants something and he looks at it and before he is able to get it, you have taken it. She would teach him that if Abu Abdullah alayhi salam requires water, run to Abu Abdullah, quench his thirst. This is the way in which a mother brings up a son who would become Abbas alayhi salam, debuted, as I said, in Safin, where his father would cover his face so only the eyes were visible, put him on the horse and send him out, and the enemies would become completely confused. Some are saying to others, has Amir al-Mu'mineen himself entered the battle? Others are saying, who is this? We can see Ali alayhi salam is standing at the door of the Khayma, but we can see Ali alayhi salam is fighting us as well. What mu'jiza is this, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen? Until at the instruction of his father, he unveiled himself to show the world, I am Abbas, son of Amir al-Mu'mineen, and then does something which again is a phenomenal example of service to Al Muhammad. His father says, come back, he turns on the spot and comes back. That day, Maula Abbas had reached the inner confines of the camps of the enemies. But because his father said return, he returned. He didn't say, but I can end this now, Father. He didn't say, but Father, I am so close. He didn't say, Father, give me one more minute. His father gave him a hukam. Abu Fadl al-Abbas served that hukam. In another hadith, sometimes narrated about Muhammad Hanafiya, one of the other sons of Amir al-Mu'mineen, sometimes narrated about Abu Fadl al-Abbas. They say that the son, whichever son it is fighting, and the enemies are trying to instill fear or doubt into the heart of the son. So they say to him that, your father doesn't love you as much as he loves Hassan and Hussein. Why? Because look, Hassan and Hussein are standing by his side at the door of the khayma, and he has sent you to fight with us. He is not worried if you get hurt as long as they don't get hurt. Now the son could have answered, but the son knows I am the son of the man whose works would later become Nahjul Balagha. I am the son of the peak of eloquence. He goes back. He says, Father, this is what they say to me. Father sends the son back with a message. The son says, this Hassan and Hussein are a body. They are the eyes of the body. I, Abbas alayhi salam, am the hands, the arms of the body. If you attack the eyes, the hands come up to protect the face. Allahu Akbar, we're sitting here. Coffee Abbas is not far from us, the location where the left and right arms were cut. These examples Al Muhammad choose. Sometimes they leave you mystified. Why would they say the arms? Maybe because they knew that these same arms would be cut in the service of Abba. This is the son of Amir al-Mu'mineen. This is the son of Bibi al-Baneen, and this is that same son who would deliver a devastating khutbah on the day before Abu Abdullah leaves Makkah. And let me set the scene for you. First and foremost, the question is raised. Why is it we don't have many khutbah from Maula Abbas from Bibi Zainab from Bibi al-Kulthum and the other members of Al Muhammad? And the answer is simple. Al Muhammad's practice was that they never would overshadow the Imam al-Bakht. They would never overshadow a senior member of the family. I take the example of Bibi Zainab, Bibi al-Kulthum. Bibi Zainab was the older sister. Bibi al-Kulthum would behave in a way in which she was not seen ahead of and I don't mean seen in the physical sense, but in the metaphysical sense, ahead of her sister. Likewise, Abu Fadl al-Abbas. During his lifetime, you have Amir al-Mu'mineen, you have Imam al-Mujtaba, you have Abu Abdullah, three Imams going into Imam al-Sajjad, and even Imam al-Baqir. Five Imams. So when you ask why do we not have these huge khutbahs of Maula Abbas alayhi salam, this is why. Because Maula Abbas would not make a habit of giving speeches. Maula Abbas would not make a habit of giving advice. Sometimes, you have situations where you read, especially in the history of Karbala, where people come to the Imam and say to him, Mullah Hussain, you know that what's going to happen in Kufa. You know what the people of Kufa are like. You know they're treacherous. Why don't you go to Yemen? Why don't you go to? Why don't you go to? Why don't you go to? But the difference between people and Abu Fadl al-Abbas and Salman and the likes is that they would never give advice to their masters. They knew their masters have advice from above and they don't need advice from us. They would follow, they would serve, they would do as they were told, but they would not offer up, why don't we do this or that? Now, with that in mind, the situation is the people are preparing for the major actions of the Hajj. Abu Fadl al-Abbas has been that protection, that hijab around the Qafla of Abu Abdullah since they left Mecca. There is a sense of security, there is a sense of safety. The ladies, the women, the children, they feel that Abbas salam is there. He is constantly doing tawaf of this Qafla that's moving, making sure no one comes anywhere near. Until they are leaving the city of Makkah and they're preparing to head towards Kufa. Now Abu Fadl al-Abbas, with the permission of his Imam, would rise. And he would give a speech, as I say, which is a devastating speech. What he gives in the center of the city of Makkah. He climbs on top of the Kabbah. He makes the entire Kabbah a mimbar Hussein, climbing on top of the Kaaba. And you imagine the scene, we've heard our whole lives how tall Maula Abbas was. Those of you who've been for Umrah, imagine that entire structure being a mimbar for Abu Abdullah alayhi salam, with his brother, his commander, his alamdar standing on top of it, 7-8 feet into the air, looking down at the people and speaking to them, saying, "Oh wretched kuffar and oppressors, you do not allow the Imam of the pious to visit the Kaaba, the one who has the most right to do so. If it was not for the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not for the unseen mysteries of Allah, and if Allah had not willed that His creation would be tested, then this Kaaba, the Kaaba that He's standing on top of, this Kaaba would uproot itself and begin to do tawaf of my Maula Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam. But my Maula has come and He has honored the Kaaba. My Maula has come and He has honored the Kaaba through His coming. Allah. But these aren't my words. These aren't, this isn't a form of zikr or khitab, but these are the words of your master, Maula Abbas, our master, Maula Abbas. The entire Kaaba would lift itself and it would do tawaf of our master, my master, Abu Abdullah, except for through the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, verily, people kiss the Hajr Aswad. The Hajr Aswad kisses the hands of my master, Abu Abdullah. The will of Allah is the will of my master Hussein. The will of my master is the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I swear by Allah, if it were not for this, I would have attacked you in the way that an eagle attacks the sparrows. I would have cut you into pieces. I would have taken you apart. Are you trying to compete with those who played with death in their childhood? Imagine. How brave must you be to do such a thing in our youth? May Allah sacrifice me upon my Maula, who is the master of the entire universe. This is Maula Abbas والسلام. This is the kalam of our master, in which he reminds the people that what you are doing is not different from what they have done in the past. You are repeating the same mistakes that the Quraysh committed. They planned to kill Rasulullah, now you are planning to kill the son of Rasulullah. The Quraysh were not successful in their evil schemes because they could not overcome Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wassalam. Now, how can it be possible for you to kill Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam when the son of Ali alayhi salam is the protector of the son of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? If you have courage, then come and try me. As Maula Abbas throwing down the gauntlet. If you have courage, then come and try me. You will be able to fulfill your evil desires. I swear by Allah, as long as I am alive, you will never be successful. May Allah send His wrath upon you, your forefathers, and your offspring. May Allah curse you, your forefathers, and your offspring. Allah. Phenomenal words by Maula Abbas, in which he is saying to the people, you're doing tawaf, you're going round and round. And this is just an excerpt. If you read the entire khutbah, he's speaking to them directly. You're doing tawaf, and the man for whom tawaf was created is walking away. He says in another section that this house, and again, these are the words of Mullah, he says, this house was a house of stone. My father was born within it, and it became a place of Qibla. Saying the Kabbah became a Qibla because of the birth of my father. The words of Maula Abbas, and the references are there. If you like, I can send you the entire khutbah. He's trying to awaken the people, understand that while you are doing all of these actions of Hajj, you're missing the essence of Hajj if you don't understand that Husayn ibn Ali, who is the Imam Waqt, who is the Hujjat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this earth, who is the reason for all of these different actions and all of these different creations. If he is going one way and you're going the other way, question what's happening. And it's an important question because those same challenges face us day in, day out. Those same challenges appear in our lives when we need to understand, is the Imam of our time and is Ali Muhammad going this way and I'm going that way, or are we going in the same direction? Because the moment you see yourself going in a direction other than that of Ali Muhammad, then correct yourself. I'll give you an example. We spoke about this in our majlis here in Karbala this evening, in which Imam al-Mujtaba says famously, La yawma ka yawm ya Aba Abdullah. There is no day like your day, ya Aba Abdullah. There is no day. La yawm ka yawm ya Aba Abdullah. There is no day. Imam al-Mujtaba's words are clear. He doesn't mince his words. Now we use that as a barometer. Today, in 2025, tomorrow in 2026, maybe in 2050, maybe Allah knows in which year, if a banner rises in which Ashura is being compared to any other event, if a banner rises in which anything is referred to as being like Ashura, or the Ashura of our time, or the Bibi Sakina alayhi salam of our time, or anything like this, know that this is against the call of Al Muhammad alayhi salam. When Imam al-Mujtaba and many, if not all of the other Imams also would say words to the effect of, there is no day like your day, Ya Aba Abdullah. Then if we see anything which is suggesting that there is anything even comparable in the most minuscule manner, 0.0.0.0.01% like the day of Aba Abdullah, then know that we must not be part of that party. Because our Imam said, La yawma ka yawm ya Aba Abdullah. There is no day like your day, Ya Aba Abdullah. These are the kinds of things we need to reflect on. These are the kinds of things that Maula Abbas, through his khutbah, is inviting the people, imploring the people, almost begging the people, think what you're about to do. It's heartbreaking then when you see the way in which the people react to Abu Fadl al-Abbas. One of the shuyukh of the haram of Maula Abbas would narrate that he had recited one particular night in the haram and he went back to his house. And that night he had a dream. And in his dream, he saw Fatima al-Zahra salamullahi alayha. And Bibi Fatima alayhi salam would say to him, why is it you do not recite the Masa'ib of my son Abu Fadl al-Abbas? He would say, Sayyidi, Sayyidati, I recited my whole life the Masa'ib of your son. But she says, still you do not recite the true Masa'ib. He says, I recite such Masa'ib that people slap their faces and faint. And I recite the Masa'ib in front of the Dhari of Abu Fadl al-Abbas. Still she says, no. He says, which Masa'ib is it that I do not recite? Oh, Sayyidati. She says, that Masa'ib of when my son fell from his horse. Because when you fall, what happens? You put your arms out in front of you. But when my son fell, which arms were there for him to put out in front of him? Allah, Allah. This is the state of Abu Fadl al-Abbas. He comes to Abu Abdullah He says, Ya Aba Abdullah, give me the permission. Aba Abdullah says, my brother, my commander, you are the alamdar of my army. How can I give you the permission? They say, Maula Abbas would say, Ya Aba Abdullah, I understand, but the army is just you and I. There is nobody else left. Aba Abdullah would say, if you must go, then go, but go to fetch water for the children. Mullah Abbas would go, he would take the mashkiza, he would ride towards the Furat, he would enter the cool waters of Furat, he would fill the mashk of Bibi Sakina alayhi salam and cup a handful of cold, glistening water in his hands. Looking at that water, he would say, Ya nafs ba'dul Hussein huni. O soul, what worth is there after Hussein? And he throws the water back. There was a moment on the 21st of Ramadan. They said Abul Fadl al Abbas was called near his father, and his father whispered something into his ears. Later, they would narrate this was that moment when his father said, Oh, my son, if you reach the Furat on the day of Ashura, represent your father. Do not quench your thirst, my son. Abul Fadl al Abbas begins to ride back towards the Khayyam. He's riding back until he reaches a location not far from behind us, at which people are hiding behind a palm tree, and they strike at one of the arms of Abul Fadl al Abbas. The arm falls. He grips the mashkiza and the alam with the other arm, and he continues to ride while calling out poetically, saying that you can cut my arms and attack me, but I will still continue to serve my master Hussein alayhi salam. He continues to ride in this way until another Lain in another location not far from behind us would strike the other arm of Abul Fadl al Abbas. Now, without any arms, he's hugging the mashkiza, he's holding the alam to his chest, but he continues to ride. Why? Because in his mind, this Sakina bintul Hussein alayhi salam, I must quench the thirst of Sakina. I must quench the thirst of Sakina. I must quench the thirst of Sakina. Singularly, he is heading towards the camp until an arrow is fired, an arrow that hits the mushk. The water flows. With it, the hopes of Abbas begin to flow. Another arrow is fired. This arrow hits the eye. They say Maula Abbas bends down to remove the arrow with his knees. Why? Because he has no hands. As this is happening, a man comes from behind with an iron pillar and strikes at the head of Maula Abbas, and Maula Abbas would begin to fall. But as Bibi Fatima says, how did he fall? He had no arms. He would fall with his face hitting the sands of Karbala. But oh Mu'mineen, I ask one question. What happened to the arrow in the eye when he would hit the ground? Allah, Allah. They had one final moment as master and brother. He called on his master Abu Abdullah. In his lap is the head of Abul Fadl al Abbas. Abul Fadl al Abbas says, I have a final request, my master. Abu Abdullah says, what is your final request, my brother? He says, my whole life I have looked upon you. Your face was the first face that I saw when I was born, and I wish for your face to be the last face I see, Ya Abu Abdullah. What is it I can do for you, Ya Abul Fadil? He says, there is an arrow in my one eye and blood in the other. Clean my eyes so I may look upon you. Abu Abdullah says, of course, my brother, but I also have a request. He says, what is it? Anything, my master. He says, my whole life you've called me master. You've never called me akhi. You've never called me your brother. Today, one final time, call me your brother. Abul Fadl al Abbas opens the one eye, looks in the direction of Hussein ibn Ali, and says, Alaykum minni salam, ya akhi, ya Abu Abdullah. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. والسيالم الذين ظلموا آل محمد أيهم قلبين ينقلبون